Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Support Disorder.
Yes, you are.
I believe 2-5, I believe.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what she's trying to say is,
Yes,
you are now listening to the sound of Sports Reports Disorder, where we do believe in Joe Hendry, myself, and the one and only, the world renowned, the world famous. He was born in Texas. Raised in Virginia. Representing New Jerusalem. And he wants you to know that New Jersey Drive is better than Menace to Society. He is Mr. Logical.
What? Stop.
Don't bring
My father
Tonight, we're going to talk to you about these
about
NBA trades,
zombies.
about this free agency. We're going to talk to you about LeBron James. Are his days in LA numbered? But first, what we're going to do is we're going to take a sip of this liquid death. And then all we're going to do is ask you to like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. Thanks for joining us. Let's get to it. No, you're done now. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We got moves. We got free agency.
I'll take over from here.
Wait, what? I haven't even said my part yet.
Say your part.
No, you go.
We're still fine-tuning that, y'all. Still fine-tuning it. But Mr. Logical, of course, saying there's some free agency going on. There's some trades going on. But before we address any of that, the question that I got for you is, has free agency been a dud?
No, because I think teams are realizing where they are. Some teams aren't going to just mortgage their entire future to gain one of these free agents when these guys is going to get them over the hump. So if we saw Indiana and OKC get their star and build around their star through the draft and through other, tangible free agent moves in lieu of the big splash. We saw the big splash since KD is probably like the last big splash that was a guaranteed no-brainer to work. And even that kind of ended in tears with the injury because that could happen. Somebody get a calf strain, now it's Achilles tear. That could really change the whole trajectory of your organization. So I think teams just kind of realize, like, you know what? This is what we got. This is what we are. Let's be realistic and make moves according to that.
So, there's a couple of things going on, right? All this season, we've been talking about, mostly me, we've been talking about these aprons. And we saw the effect of the aprons, what it's done to the Boston Celtics. Al Horford's probably on his way out. Drew Holiday is out. They brought in George Yang. They got rid of Kristaps Porzingis. So the second apron, the apron is in effect. It's a real thing. Okay. Now, with that being said, we saw the other side of things. These teams aren't swinging for the fences, to Mr. Logical's point, because there's less money to go around because the new rules allow teams to talk with their players the day after the NBA Finals ends. So they're able to negotiate. They're able to talk with their roster and say, hey, I want to keep you. Let's talk this money. So therefore, the market dries up because all the talks are happening internally before free agency even starts. So you'll see something, and you got players like Gary Trent Jr. and Quentin Grimes who believe in themselves. Quentin Grimes, nuts. He talking about he want $25 million a year. Gary Trent turned down about 18 from Toronto a year or two ago. And now these guys might get the mid-level exception or something along those lines because these teams have to budget themselves because the Lukas, the LeBrons, the SGAs, they're going to get paid.
Absolutely.
So the rest is for scraps for you to figure out.
And that's the thing is like understanding where you are as organization is key. We've seen a lot of teams operate as if they have unlimited money or they literally only have the following year to make something happen. We've seen coaches get fired. We've seen players. Milwaukee probably had a great setup after they won the championship. But for some reason, we've talked about this before. Teams get to a certain point and think running it back is an improvement. I know you mentioned that before with a couple of teams. I'm like, if we just won a chip and everybody's healthy, we can afford to pay people, then pay them. We saw it with the Lakers after 2020. They probably could have paid the defensive guys that they had on the team, like the guys who rebounders, JaVale McGee, the Dwight Howards, Caruso, KCP. I think they could have brought those guys back. But for some reason, I probably thought, like, oh, we need to get more offense. It's like, listen, if you can win games 106 to 99, win games 106 to 99. You don't have to win 118 to 113 every single night. And I think it hurt them because they got rid of their bigs and moved AD into a spot that he never wanted to play. And he talked about it. I think he probably gave it a go that 2020, 2021 season. Like, you know what? I'll try to five a little bit more. But then it came around, he was like, yo, I don't want to play like this. And they couldn't recover because they gave the money to the wrong people. And like I said, once teams recognize like, yo, this is what we're gonna do, this is where we are, I'm not gonna strip for that. And then the apron thing. We saw with the salary cap in other sports. Some teams know how to manipulate it, some teams do it better, some teams aren't that good at it. So probably with the apron, they're giving their math guys, you know what, let's get a couple years to figure this out, see how it really impacts us. And then maybe in 2 years, you'll see that, like, for instance, Devin Booker has like a crazy extension on the back end of his deal.
Well,
Maybe
he just
some
got it.
team,
Yeah, that 2 years,
yeah,
150.
yeah. So maybe once they figure out the apron over the next 1 or 2 years, somebody swings for the fences. Like maybe Orlando thinks they're one playmaker away in a couple of years because they've had a couple of deep playoff runs. And they're like, yo, we can get Devin Booker in here and we can push that apron till 2036 based on these numbers. Now I think you'll see some movement. But up on the front end, I think owners kind of figuring out like, all right, what is this going to cost me? What am I going to get out of this team? Because a lot of teams aren't family-owned business anymore. You see, even the Lakers sold for $10 billion. So you probably got a bunch of hedge funds guys that are trying to figure out, okay, how can I profit off of this NBA franchise that we purchased with the plethora of billions that we have on the side?
Well, I think that something that we're starting to see as well, and we've been seeing this for years, but I just think it's more accentuated now. That it's all about the 3-and-D and the big men now. You know what I mean? These guards are interchangeable. You're seeing people like Colin Sexton get traded. Like you look at the Lakers, right? They brought in LaRavia and DeAndre Ayton. They re-signed Jackson Hayes. They still got holes on that roster. So a lot of people are looking at things as, hey, the Lakers solved their big man issue. Yeah, but the Lakers still have a shooting issue.
Yeah,
They still
and you
don't have
called it.
guys that can hit shots.
And when Hardenstein didn't re-sign with the Knicks and he went to OKC, like I said, I'm gonna give you your flowers. You called it last July. They just won the NBA championship. Now it took to Game 7 and a very
Yeah,
horrendous injury for Tyrese Halliburton, but a lot of people picked one of the other 29 teams that
right.
wasn't the OKC Thunder, and you picked them last year because they got the big. It's We talked about it with Peyton Manning. Everybody can't go 4 wide with the tight end in the slot and the running back out of the backfield. Some people have to play the way New England played back in the day. And New England was going toe to toe with Indy for years, playing a complete opposite style offensively
Right.
and a complete opposite style defensively. So teams just have to recognize, okay, who we are, what do we want to do, what do we have the personnel for? Because I watched SGA win Game 5 in was a game.
In the finals you're talking about?
In the finals,
That was
where
Game 4.
Game 4 when they went Like they
Yep.
had
Outscored
Indiana had
Indiana 12-1 in the
12
last 3
in
minutes.
the
Yeah.
last 3 minutes, and they were 2 for 15 from three before he hit the three to put them up one or have them down one or something like that. So he was killing them with the mid range, getting the contact, getting the old school and one. Yeah, people could say he's foul baiting, but getting to the paint seemed to be confusing the hell out of everybody defensively. It's like, what do we do with this guy when he gets to the free throw line? But yet everyone wants to get a guy that can shoot it from 24 feet. I'm like, this dude killed the league shooting pull-up jumpers. All of his highlights are pull-ups or hezzy moves at the free throw line, getting to the rim and getting fouled.
And we're starting to see it, right? You're starting to see teams like Houston. They were playing the double bigs in the playoffs this year, Şengün and Steven Adams. So there is a shift coming. You know what I mean? Like maybe you'll see the Knicks play Mitchell Robinson and Cat together. But speaking of the Knicks, Mr. Logical, the
I'm
Knicks
listening.
finally have a new head coach. What are your thoughts?
Makes sense. You need an adult in the building. Colin Cowherd says that like you need an adult in the room. And sometimes going with the flashy analytics, young guy, up and coming guy is going to have all this. Sometimes you simply need an adult that can lead men and let these men do it. Because what the Knicks were doing, if people think that Tibbs is doing a bad job, they were a couple of bad quarters away from being probably up 3-0 in that series with Indiana, maybe even a sweep without the miraculous 18 points in the fourth from Neesmith, who probably, I don't think he hit that point. He hit 30 in that game one of East Conference Final. I don't think he hit 30 for the rest of the playoffs, which is like what? I think they played about
They
12
played,
more
yeah,
games,
12
something
more.
like that.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he hit 30. He was still hitting threes, but he wasn't hitting them the way he was hitting them in that particular 6-minute span.
Madison Square Garden, right?
It's just something they said it's like an opera house. Like you just people just want to put on a show. So if they can get that far with Tibbs and what people believe is ineptitude as an offensive coach, then having a guy like Mike Brown in the building who can, understand what's going on, he could deal with the media, he could deal with the scrutiny. I mean, he was Cavaliers coach with LeBron and all those expectations. Then he goes to go to say as an assistant. They have lofty expectations, and they had a
Hey,
couple of
don't
bad
forget he
years.
coached Kobe in between.
Coach Kobe. So it's like he can handle the New York City pressure
Right.
cooker.
And Mike Brown has really had a raw deal his whole career. Like
Absolutely.
there were rumors. I'm not here to say whether they're true or not, but there were rumors that one LeBron James didn't want to play for him anymore in Cleveland because the knock back then was he didn't really run an offense. Mike Brown didn't really run an offense. You know what I mean? The Laker thing, he got fired unceremoniously. You know what I mean? Then you turn around, he's won titles as an assistant in Golden State, an assistant in San Antonio. And so like he's been around the block. And then of course this year the whole Sacramento thing happened. And it was just out of the blue weird because just a year ago before that we were lighting the beam. And it
Yo,
was like,
he was driving. I think he did press and was on the highway to catch the jet to the next road game. I'm like,
right.
come on, like you.
And then everybody
You could have
came out
fired
and
me
said,
before the press. You could have used that press conference to say, "Hey, we just had to meet with Mike Brown. He's
right.
been relieved of his
And,
duties." But you had me go out there talking like tomorrow was promised to me, knowing you was going to get rid of me when the meeting was
but
over.
then they
So that's,
tried to blame De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox was like, "Oh, don't put that on me." Like,
and then they
that
were
ain't
like,
got
"All
nothing
right, you
to do
going
with
to
me.
San Antonio?
Yeah, you didn't fall in line. And you know what I
You're
mean?
getting
So,
up
so I
out of
think it's a
here."
good move because something that you said earlier in this conversation, where you said that some teams, run it back and they think that's an improvement. That's all the Knicks would have did if they brought Thibodeau back. All they would have been doing is saying, "Hey, we were right on the doorstep," but you're still not addressing the reason that you couldn't get into the house. So,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with them letting Thibodeau go. What I had a problem with was that you don't let a dude like Thibodeau go and not have a
without a
plan.
plan.
You know what I'm saying? So we shouldn't like Mike Brown, if he was going to be the guy, he's good enough that he should have been your guy the moment that you fired Tibbs versus you getting turned down by 5 different teams trying to talk to their coach. Because now you just look Bush League, which is weird because you're in New York City. But
I mean,
anyway, Mr.
sometimes that
Logical.
works out. Like I asked 5 girls to the prom. And then number 6 said yes. And everybody was like, "Oh, that should have been me." I'm like, "I asked you first." So
But
when Mike Brown goes in there and he takes the Knicks to, I mean, like we talked about the East, it's not very healthy, and
so
a lot of people are going to have to build these, this corporate word synergy. I think the Knicks, they, I think it'll work out for them because if he can get to 9 to 10 guys in a rotation, because you have an on ball scorer in Jalen Brunson and Cat. So you could work each one of them with the second unit. Just depends on how you want to play it. It's not like some teams like old school Dallas where it was Luca, and then when Luca was off the floor, it was like, let's hope we can run this offense. With the Knicks, they have two viable sources, and we're gonna talk about something later. Maybe there's a move or two that they still can make
well, I think they already
considering
made the
that Hail
move.
Mary.
I think they already made them. They went and got Jordan Clarkson. Who provides you,
He's
I guess.
he's a New York City. I don't know how he must have really loved Utah, but he's like a big city kind of personality too.
Yeah, he can be the taller ball stopper that goes out the game when Jalen, that comes in the game when Jalen Brunson's on the bench and do a
Yeah,
lot of the same things. They went and got Gershon Yabasule from the Sixers, whose claim to fame is that dunk against LeBron in the Olympics. That
yeah,
was a pregame. It wasn't even actually an Olympic game, but he made a name for himself, and so they added that to the bench. So you add that to Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson, you got a formidable bench now. You know what I mean? And the East is there for the taking. Like, there is no absolute reason that the New York Knicks should not win the East next year outside of Donovan Mitchell averaging 52 against them. That's the
yeah.
only way they
The
should not win the East.
the East is pretty much your top 3 teams are going to be really good, and 4 through 15 are going to be all right. Like I think the fourth seed might have like 44 wins.
Yeah,
Just
and
just
that's where
just
I'm
off the
stuck.
injury. Just off
Well,
the
that's where
injury.
I'm stuck, right? Because as a Wizards fan, you know what I mean? Like, we tried to play the tank game, ended up with the number 6 pick. So we made some moves this offseason, and I said, okay, looks like they're trying to improve the team. Went and got CJ McCollum, little redundant because you already got Marcus Smart there, but I figure you'll buy him out. You know what I'm saying? We got Chris Middleton, maybe another buyout candidate or another trade candidate. But then they went and got Cam Whitmore. So then as I thought about it, I was like, all right, so you drafted Trey Johnson because the Wizards are a bunch of guys that can play basketball, but they still don't have. So when you're looking at a team, right? Like say the Hornets.
Yeah,
The Hornets have had bad injury luck. The Hornets haven't been in the playoffs really, but you recognize LaMelo Ball's talent. We talk about whether he contributes to winning or not, but the talent is there.
correct.
The Wizards didn't have any of that. So they went and got Trey Johnson in the draft, who I think has that. But then they went and got Cam Whitmore, who I know has that. His 5 games as a starter, averaging 20 points for Houston. But then I'm like, I don't know if I like them together. And then you got Bub Carrington, that you're trying to fill in. So then they made all these other trades, got Kelly Olynyk, who they just traded 20 minutes ago. So I
Yeah,
have no idea what the Wizards are doing. But when I think about the Wizards, it makes me think of another team that's near and dear. I've been talking about how I want relegation.
correct.
Get the Utah Jazz all the way out of here. Get them out of what the fuck are they doing?
Yo, the
Like they can,
Utah trying to sell out 41 home games. That's it. That's
no.
all. That's their
Did you see
goal.
this? Did you see this 3-team trade they did yesterday?
They probably gonna buy out Kevin Love. I don't know why. Like I said, NBA circles seem to have given us this impression that NBA players don't want to be in Utah. Collins is probably like, "Man, I'm sick of being here." They brought in a bunch of young talent. It's probably partially a rebuild, and he's like, "I'm a good basketball player." And then they probably made this move. They'll probably get rid of Kevin Love, through buyout. Like these deals should just
They still
be
got to
up
try to
front.
move marketing, right?
I think marketing is probably at their biggest bargaining chip, and he might be one of those guys that they out give him the Al Horford treatment, where around December they's like, all right, man, we're gonna try to move you because somebody's gonna want. I think Marcus was 6'9", 6'10",
Yeah, 6'10", I believe.
stretch threes, 3, 4. So I think December you got about 20 or so games, 25 games under your belt,
Yeah, you're
give
sitting
or
at
take.
4-16.
I'm just talking about like a contender. You got a team like, let's see who be, maybe like a Cleveland. Maybe they're sitting there thinking like, you know what, we could if we get some more firepower. Uh, Houston's make a lot of moves. Maybe a team like Dallas when they kind of realize like, yo, we might need somebody else to take the pressure off Cooper Flag, but we're doing good enough. We're sitting at 16-9 or 16-10. And like teams will start looking around like, you know what, I think we might have something here, and then they're going to start calling because I think Marklin's probably like he doesn't seem like a diva. He seems like a guy that's just European guy like lunch pail, come to work, do your job. I think a contender will look out and try to make a move for a guy like him, and maybe Utah just sits him down, keeps giving him his check, but keeps him healthy, for trade bait.
Well, I was looking at it because the media just be trying to push everything, right? So the Clippers picked up John Collins, in this trade. I think that's a good move. I think he adds a Aaron Gordon type element to them if he's willing to accept that role. But then they keep talking about, well, hey, Phoenix is going to buy out Bradley Beal. The Clippers should get him too. And I'm like, how many basketballs do you think they play with?
The Brad Beal, if he's going to get bought out, he should call Lou Williams and say, hey, man, him and Jamal Crawford sit down and be like, yo, dog, how'd you manage coming off the bench? Because Lou Williams talked about it before, and I think Jamal Crawford did the same thing. Was like the conversations they were having with their coaches when they were coming off the bench is like, yo, so it's me when I'm out there, right? They're like, yep, green light. Do what you do, run the offense, but you have a green light. Like, all right, bet. So if you give me 26, 27 minutes and I'm running the second unit for half of that time, then I'm working with the stars, whatever. Like, let me get off. Let me get my 10 or 12 points. Let me get my groove. And now when the starters come back in and I'm working in with the starters, I'm already feeling it and I'm already good to go. But that's the mindset you have to adjust to. Carmelo talked about that. But Carmelo didn't really get to run the offense through when he was with the second unit. I think he went out there with Westbrook in LA. I believe in Portland, it was kind of the same thing where he just was like a scoring option, but I don't know if it was like we run it through you kind of option. I think he just knew like I got my spots, I got my 8 favorite spots that I'm getting to, and like Melo can get open in the phone booth. So I think for him, he's like, yo, long as I get there, long as I get on the floor, I'm gonna do my thing. I don't know if Brad Bill has that. I can't be a starter, but I can be a monster off the bench kind of
So
mindset. 'Cause I
are
don't
there
think
any
he's probably
teams?
never had to do it, honestly.
So are there any teams that you think he could help, or that would be a decent fit for him right now? Because I got 2 in mind.
Brad Beal, buyout, Knicks. I think he fit there because I don't know if they have a scorer. I know you talk about Jordan Clarkson kind of being like he's a playmaker, but I think Brad Beal coming off the bench for New York, I think he could just be able to shoot the lights out, and it's a big city, maybe that'll help. I know Atlanta's made a lot of moves, but I don't think that works there. Definitely not Houston going back with KD. I'm thinking contenders because I can't imagine he gets bought out and then he just goes and just plays
Well,
anywhere.
I got 2 teams in mind.
Maybe Cleveland because I think Cleveland lost. I think they lost Jerome maybe in this
They did.
offseason.
He went to Memphis. Yep.
So I think Cleveland. I think
But
the way
they
Cleveland
brought in
plays,
Lonzo.
Lonzo's a point though.
I know, but I don't like those 2 together.
I think Lonzo will get. I think Lonzo will probably relish the fact that I can get 6 assists if I could just get Brad Bill open. If I can get the ball to Brad Bill, he's going to try to put it in the bucket. So I think that because
So
it's like he's down there, he's out there somewhere. Like if you get trapped, you could look like where's Brad Bill coming off? I think that'll work, but
So
it would have
I
to be
got
a
two
contender.
teams. I got two teams in mind. Both of them are reaches, but when we're talking about a player like Black Brad, you got to reach. So, so number one, just because he's coming off the buyout and you don't have to allocate a lot of money, I say why not Golden State? And it doesn't matter where, like to your point about starting or being on the bench. I don't think it really matters because I think Buddy Hield has been conditioned to do either or. So I
Yeah.
think it's an easier transition. Now I don't know how well he fits with Steph per se, Bradley Beal,
I don't
but
know how well he fits with Kaminga, considering I don't
well,
know
if
how well
Kaminga's there, I don't
Kaminga's.
know if Kaminga's going to be there.
That's what I'm saying. Like if Kaminga's there, it's already enough going on with trying to figure out how to get Kaminga the ball and get him to the cup, where it shouldn't be that difficult
Well, with
considering the way
Kaminga,
they
I
play
think.
basketball.
Well, with Kaminga, I think that they're probably going to sign him to a little contract, and then I think they're going to trade him in December. But the other team, it's a reach, right? But desperate times call for desperate measures. Because there's a team out here that got a freak, that want to win a championship, that want to contend. The East is a little bit down. You went out and got Miles Turner. You got Torian Prince and Gary Trent, two of the best shooters last season in the NBA. You got Kevin Porter to run your point guard spot since Dame is out. Maybe if I'm Milwaukee, I can go Giannis. I got you, Bradley Beal. Like, you
Yeah, but
gotta see
Brad
that we're
Beal is
trying.
not going to want to play behind Kevin Porter Jr.
Well, he doesn't have to. He can start at the 2.
Yeah, but Brad Beal, like, I don't know if he's a starter on a contender. Because I think most contending teams play like dynastic team defense with their starting five. I think the starting five on championship contending teams play like very aggressive defense, hands in the lane, taking charges, help defense. I just think they play with a lot of energy offensively, and they can kind of shell one guy. Like SGA is a really good defender, led the league in block as a guard in blocks, but he doesn't have to go full Kobe and just try to take Derrick Rose off the pick and roll, like that kind of aggressive level defense. They can kind of piece him in there because the other four guys are really going to do the extra work. I'm not sure what you can do with Brad Bill if he isn't going to give you that kind of sellout on the defensive end. As a
Miami?
starter, Miami, I don't think is going to be a contender because I'm not sure what pieces they have left to
So I know
contend.
they picked
So
up
I
Norm
think he would go
Powell.
down there and want to be the starter as well.
Right,
So like,
he might. Well, they picked up Norm Powell. I guess it would just depend on. So they have Davion Mitchell that they resigned. They have Tyler Hero still, so that could be the issue.
correct.
Allegedly, Wiggins is on the way out potentially. Norman Powell they just brought in yesterday. You got Bam and you got Khalil Ware. So I guess that goes back to, is he willing to come off the bench? Because remember, Duncan Robinson left and went to Detroit. So there's a slot there, maybe.
But is Brad Bill a catch and shoot three guy, or is he a let me run this? That's it. All's going to come down to
I,
maybe he stays in Phoenix without KD being there, and he gets those shots that
I
he
don't think
needs.
you can, though, because they just brought in Jalen Green. So between Jalen Green and Booker, that's about 40 shots right there.
Yeah, the problem with Brad Bill and it's $110 million left on his deal. Like the fact that Dame got bought up by Milwaukee blew him. Like they're willing to break him off 22 and a half for the next 5 years. That blew my mind. Like that 110, like that's the same. Phoenix would have to make that same deal, and it's like you've already made enough bad deals.
So from the early reports that I saw, it sounds like he would have to give up about 14 million, and then they would do the wave and stretch like Milwaukee did with Dame.
So 96 over what? How many years is he gonna do the Bobby Bonilla deal where his family's gonna be getting money until 2070? Which would
No,
be
I think it'll be a
it
4
would
or
be
5 year
crazy.
thing. I think it'll be a
I
4 or
mean, like
5 year.
if you think about it, $96 million over the next
Good evening, madam.
40 years. I know that's not gonna happen, but like Bobby Bonilla signed that deal twice, and I think Magic signed one because Bobby Bonilla was getting paid from like the
Oh, he's still
Pirates
getting
and
paid.
the Mets. Yeah, he's still getting paid
Yeah,
from the Mets, but he was
yeah,
getting he
yeah.
saw that deal and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do another one of these." So he's been getting paid for like 40 years. It's crazy. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but that 90
All right,
something million stretched out over 4 or 5 years, it just seems too
all right.
pricey,
So
even
from
for a
one,
billionaire.
so I do think that Black Brad still got some stuff left in the tank. I think that this Phoenix experiment has left a bad taste in people's mouths. And even though I'm not a Black Brad fan, I think that people are a little lower on him due to what happened in Phoenix. He had some injuries going on, but I think there's still a good basketball player in there.
Yeah, one
But
that
Mr.
150
Logical.
extension to Devin Booker told Bradley Beal everything he needs to know about his time in Phoenix. So let's
So
keep it a
where
buck.
does Chris Paul do his farewell tour?
Man, he better sign a 1 day with the Charlotte Hornets or the New Orleans Pelicans, or go back to Georgia, go back to Wake Forest and have a ceremony and just be like, yo, like, because he's never gonna get his fair shake. It's inevitable that he's gonna get hurt, and then it's gonna be like, oh, we forgot we had Chris Paul on the team, and they're gonna go. He's gonna get hurt before the trade deadline. It's just because he's almost 40.
So the word
They're
on
gonna
the
go out and
street.
make another move, and then he'll be just stuck again. I don't want to see him go out like that.
So the word on the street is Clippers, Lakers, Suns. And then of course, just because I'm me, I'm gonna throw Milwaukee out there because it just
Clippers, Lakers, Suns. Clippers have
James
play.
Harden.
They have playoff aspirations. I don't think James Harden and Chris Paul got along. I know that was uh, rumored in Houston. The Lakers, they already have the Lakers with LeBron, Luca, and whoever. Like, it's just too many. Like, they don't need Chris Paul to give those two guys the ball. Like
Okay.
that spot you get a Chris Paul can be for a guy like, I know he's not available. Like, Nikhil Walker Alexander, like a guy,
Right.
like a utility guy. Like having Chris Paul there, it's not even redundant. It's just like it's like putting the seatbelt, like buckling the passenger seatbelt when no one's like in the car. You're just doing it for no reason. Just there. It's whatever. It's pointless to even
Right.
have that situation.
All right.
Uh, Milwaukee, maybe, but once again, it's like if they're going to tailor their entire essentially identity around Giannis, the players that are playing around Giannis have to all like it's like a Captain Planet situation. It's like Giannis is Captain Planet. The rest of y'all got to have a ring that's gonna give me something that he's giving me. And he's the overall guy. Like I need
Right.
somebody that's defensively tenacious. I need a shot blocker. I need a guy that can
And does he
get a
slow them
bucket.
down too much?
He'd have to because Giannis is. I saw a few highlights. It's like I saw something where he took like one or two dribbles from half court and dunked. Like that's a different kind of speed. Chris Paul's not going to run that kind of speed, and it's not always going to be effective.
Right.
So, like,
I mean, the Clippers would probably be, besides the James Harden stuff, the Clippers would probably be the better fit because they're like that older, kind of grinded out kind of team. Like, I don't know if he fits on. I don't think he fits on the Lakers at all. Outside of he's cool with LeBron,
I
but I don't.
mean, I don't know what the Cleveland backup point guard situation looks like.
Lonzo.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. Then Charlotte.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah,
So real quick, Mr. Logical. I know we were going to do this real quick, so
yeah.
let's see, I got 6 teams here,
Let's
and we're
go.
just going to play a quick game of contender or pretender.
Yeah.
All right, taking it from the top. This is not quite alphabetical, but I think I started out that way. All right, so let's go with the Hawks. Pretender or contender?
I like their moves. Obviously, every move is contingent on health. I like that Trey Young wasn't ever talked about being on the market as a season. I know during the season, there's a lot of conversation are being generated in different sports groups and stuff like that. But when the season ended, I don't recall hearing a report of anybody trying to get Trey Young or Trey Young being available. I like the fact that they recognize, like, yeah, I got an undersized guard, but he's dynamic playmaker, scorer, confidence is through the roof. Let's put pieces around him and see if we can make another Eastern Conference Finals run. And then I think, sadly, with the injuries that happened in the East, it it probably allowed a lot of teams to just like settle down and kind of reflect, like, okay, whoa, all right, a lot of these teams are going to be out of contention for like 2 years, maybe. A lot of teams will be paying money to guys. With Indiana losing Miles Turner, so I like what Atlanta's doing. Now if they could get their top pick from last year to, play like a second year top pick, yeah, they can make some noise. Like I said, I think it's three spots in the East. 1, 2, and 3 are gonna have like 1, 2, and 3 type seasons. I don't think the team that's gonna be third is gonna have like 45 wins. I think the teams 4th through 8 are gonna be struggling, and then I think the bubble teams are gonna be all, around or sub 500.
See, I just can't get there. I want to get there. What I'm saying, I like the moves just like you do, but I just can't get there because, sometimes we talk about teams and we say to ourselves, hey, LeBron turning 40. If he could stay healthy, or hey, if we talk about this team in particular, like if they could stay healthy. But when I look at the Hawks, what I'm saying, Porzingis was dealing with the West Nile or something,
Yeah.
and we still don't know what's going on with him. You know what I mean? So one, Jalen Johnson was out last year, and if you go back to college, he's a guy that misses time. Even though I like him, I had him as my most improved player coming into the season, but he does get hurt a lot. Nikhil Walker-Alexander, is he going to be the quintessential free agent that got paid and then you never see him again? The KCP, if you will. Will he be that where, he's coming in with all this hype? I love his defense, obviously, real dependent on if his 3-point shot is falling or not. But now that he's got the money, are we still going to see that same hunger?
Yeah, but the money is going to come with opportunity because we talked about Trey Young. Trey Young's top point guard and assist pretty much every year.
Yeah, and that's the
So
other
he's
thing.
he's looking
He
he's
leads the
looking to
league in
make those
assists.
moves.
But you know what the difference between Steve Nash and Trey Young is? Trey Young will get you those 11, 12 assists, and he'll shoot 38% from the floor. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Where,
as
like,
long as he can outscore the guy guarding him and get you double digit assists, I think you got a shot.
we'll see. I do like their coach, Quinn Snyder. I like a Cognawu. Kobe Buffkin, I'm not necessarily in on, but the thing that I like about Atlanta the most is trying to pass the ball through or dribble through Dyson Daniels and Nikhil Alexander Walker. That's going to be tough sledding. You know
A
what I'm
lot of
saying?
run out layups.
Right. And it is not quite Jason Brown and or Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, obviously.
Yeah,
But
because
here's
both
one
of those
for
guys
you.
are like 6'8".
Here's your 2-5ism of the night. So Dyson Daniels and Nikhil Alexander Walker may not be Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen offensively, but defensively they may be Scottie Pippen and Ron Harper.
I was thinking that as soon as you're like my
Yeah.
2-5 is, I'm like he's gonna say Ron Harper. I don't know
Yeah.
why I thought that, but as soon as you said it, I was like,
Because
he's
Ron
gonna say
Harper's my guy, man.
he's
Nobody
going.
loves
I
Ron
had
Harper the
a
way I
feeling you were
love.
gonna say Ron Harper because when you said 2-5 is, I'm like he's gonna say
Nobody
Ron
loves
Harper.
Ron Harper the way that I do. You know what I'm saying? But and also I forgot they added Luke Kennard as well. So, a deadly shooter, but can he stay healthy? So next team, Detroit Pistons, contender or pretender?
I like Detroit. I'm gonna say contender. They played New York very tough. I don't know what's going on with Beasley. I just see like these
Oh, he owe
reports
all
of
the money.
He's owes money here,
Yeah,
owes
hopefully
money
we don't find
there.
him in a river or something.
So that's unfortunate, but they did sure it up by go getting Duncan Robinson, a guy that can, a guy come off the bench, catch and shoot guy. Uh, I like him. I like him because I think they have size advantages. They just need experience, which I think they got a helping of last year. They got Cade Cunningham had the injury plague seasons, the losing seasons, what they had like 28 losses in their first 30 games or something like that a couple of years ago. And then last year they turned it around. So they got a taste of a little bit of success. They play those first quarters, and you talk about it's a game of, a decision here, decision there. They play those last quarters in that Knicks series a little better. They're in the second round, like no doubt in my mind. But youth does that. Now they have the film to look on, adjustments to be made. So I like where they're going. So I'm gonna call them a contender. I'm had them around 3 in the East.
So this might sound real familiar. I want to get there, but I can't get there because they have Jaden Ivey coming back next season, so that'll be another offensive scorer for them. But I don't know if I like the Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham backcourt as a unit. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if Jalen Duren has another step in him to take to get to that next level, to get to that Miles Turner type level. I don't know if he has that.
I've seen him working on the jump shots, working on the three. Everybody posts these videos on social media. I'm not a big fan of the big man shooting the three,
And then
but it seems to work. Brook Lopez got 6 more years out of the NBA because he decided to step back to 23 feet and let it fly.
And let me see if I can find my boxing gloves, but trying to rely on Isaiah Stewart too. You know what I mean? Like,
You got to get a sports psychologist so he can use his tenacity
and
up to the line and come back because you're not Draymond. Draymond gets away with a lot of this knucklehead stuff. Dog, you're playing basketball.
but
Don't fight every single week.
But the number one reason that I can't get there with the Pistons? Because I ain't trusting no team with Tobias Harris.
Yo, Tobias Harris is catching strays all day. We saw the Paul George clip earlier. He was talking about people saw him in traffic in Philly and he rolled his window down. Like, yo, that is Paul George. Yo, we could have kept Tobias Harris for what you do. So it's like, man, just catching strays all day.
Because he just, I will admit,
6'9", he should be a little bit more dynamic. Yes,
I will admit, this year, I will admit this year was probably his best playoff. You know what I mean? Like, he was even playing defense on Cat and frustrating him at times. You know what I mean? But I just don't know if I don't know if BJ Bickerstaff is a championship level coach either. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's a very good coach. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if he's
my contender is 3, 1, 2, or 3. So that puts you at top 6 in the
what a resident say. I just think that at this point, you know what I mean? We're looking at the Pistons, and I think the reaction to that series that they lost, by the way, may be a little fool's gold. All right. Now, I know we're going to disagree on this one. Here we go. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Orlando Magic, pretender or contender?
Third category, up and comer.
Oh,
like I said, they don't. You got to shoot the ball with purpose and persistence from 3. You got to be able to do it. You have to be able to make the defense adjust. If you don't have a guy that can make the defense or make a defender, an on-ball defender, have to worry about him beyond 20 feet, then that just limits how much you can do with the type of players I have. Like, Paolo just got $57 million. I think he'll be fine. But he plays a lot of downhill, somewhat bully ball, a la like young LeBron. Not the same level of athleticism, but that I'm bigger than most of the guys you're gonna put out to guard me by proxy of the 5-on-5 format. Like you can't put a 4 on them because they'll blow right by them. You can't put too many ones or twos. Like, so you have to figure out, okay, what kind of defender do I have? And I think he can take advantage of that. But I'm not sure if they have the playmaking skills to get the ball to shooters. I know the Desmond Bain deal was huge. They gave up a lot with the expectation that maybe he'll come in and shoot 40, 41%. Jalen Suggs coming back. Yeah, it could work. But once again, you got a bunch of young guys that can't stay healthy. And then you don't. I know the NBA shoots a lot of threes, and I'm not with Boston shooting like 60 and
Right.
102 games, but at least Boston makes you defend every guy that steps on the floor because of their willingness and their ability to shoot the three. I think Orlando needs that before they can become a contender.
All right. So I'm going with contender, and I'm gonna tell you why. And it's kind of sort of what you just said, but I'm gonna contradict it in a way.
Okay.
So we talked about the injuries, and obviously Jalen Suggs had a big injury. But when we look at Banchero and Franz Wagner, they had the same exact injury. That injury was a torn oblique. You know what I mean? So when I think of injuries, I don't necessarily think a torn oblique counts as injury prone per se. Like I think of that as, ankles, just knee issues, so on and so forth, right? But to your point though, Orlando went
Shoulders
41
that
and
never heal, stuff like that. Like, yo, dog,
right,
how's your shoulder hurt again?
right. So Orlando went 41 and 41. You know what I mean? Okay, middle of the road play-in team, right? But to your point, with that oblique, Paolo Banchero only played 46 games this year. Franz only played 60. Jalen Suggs had his injury. He played 35 games. Mo Wagner played 30 games. So that's 4 of their best players. And they still got to 41 and 41. They still pushed, well, I ain't going to say pushed them, but they played Boston tough. They've always been able to play great defense. They were top 5 in the league in defense last year. They're adding Jalen Suggs back, 40% three-point shooter. Desmond Bain, 40% three-point shooter. Anthony Black is coming into his own as that defender, 6'7", point guard that can just kind of push everybody around. We know we call Desmond Bain T-Rex, but he plays defense too.
Yeah.
So I think Orlando will be in the mix. Like I think that Orlando might actually be number 3. All right. So this one I think we're going to agree on.
Let's hear it.
Denver Nuggets, pretender or contender? And before you even answer, big deal or no deal that Jokic hasn't signed his extension?
Jokic just riding his horses, and he's probably waiting on the provision where he can just leave the team at any time when he wants. He just probably wants something crazy like that. And like, I want to leave for a weekend and go back to Serbia. I need that in my contract. Maybe I would say because he doesn't really ruffle feathers a lot. They had a lot of heat, and a lot of flack internally in
Jokic to the Lakers.
the final stretch of their season, and the way their season ended, losing the game 7. Aaron Gordon went out there hampered, playing his heart out, but they got beat by a younger team. It might be, I'm gonna say, pretender, simply because I don't know if they have adjusted from the way they played last year and the way it ended. It's a lot to handle. It's one thing, like Indiana, for instance. Their season ended game 7 NBA Finals. I know that's huge. But they lost their star player. Their other big got signed to Milwaukee. So it's like, okay, we had a lot going on right at the end that's basketball related. Denver had a lot of stuff that was personality and personnel related, and I'm not sure that they have adequately adjusted to that and addressed that because they just hired a guy internally. And we talked about the trade that moved Michael Porter Jr. to Brooklyn, got you Cam Johnson. Is he going to give you the same thing, but with a little bit more effort? Is that a little bit more effort enough? I think Westbrook didn't resign. They brought Bruce Brown back. I just feel like it's not enough. I don't think they made enough moves to kind of smooth out the turbulence that they had at the end of the season, even though they had a great a really good playoff run considering those circumstances. I don't know if that momentum carries over to October.
Well, I stand corrected because we disagree. I'm going with contender. And there's a couple of reasons why. Cam Johnson is a better Michael Porter Jr. He also plays a little bit of defense, but he's more consistent and versatile than Michael Porter. Michael Porter was just basically a 6'10" catch and shoot. Cam can do other things. On top of that, say what up, Mike. On top of that, saying Bruce Brown, right? You brought him up. There's certain guys, and maybe this is the Jokic effect, but there's certain guys that play on teams and they're not effective. But then they play on a specific team and it just meshes. So I think what he provides to Denver, one is an extra ball handler to get the ball out of Murray and Jokic's hands, but a smart ball handler because this past season you brought him up as well. They had Mr. Sabotage, saying Mr.
Rush
Can't
just
get
plays
right.
hard. He just plays hard, and sometimes it just
Yeah, he plays
listen,
hard.
if you're gonna love the rose, you gotta love the thorns.
Hey, you know what? The one thing that I will always say about Russell Westbrook is he plays harder than anybody that I ever watched basketball. The only thing wrong with that is that he often plays for your opponent. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're eliminating that. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to think, and this is me wishfully thinking, I would like to think that, Jalen Pickett gets some more minutes. I would like to think that Julian Strawther, he had the game against OKC in the playoffs where he went 19 points in 15 minutes or whatever it was. So I would like to think that he gets a couple of more minutes. Aaron Gordon back healthy. And then, oh, by the way, they went and got Tim Hardaway Jr. So, they got a sniper, that is capable of, now granted, he will go 2 for 8 one game, but he will come back. He will come back and go 6 for 11. And they were right there because I remember when we were having the conversation during the playoffs, one of the things that I held on to and I truly believe to this day was that OKC and Denver was the championship. Whoever won that series, I thought was going to win the championship.
And I thought Halliburton's healthy, Indiana would have won it, but that's neither here nor there.
That's not true. But
if
there
it was
you
a
go.
fifth, we all be
that's
drunk.
Not true. You know what I'm saying? All right. Houston Rockets. Pretender or contender?
I wanted to say pretender after the KD move because everyone just kind of put them at 2 again, but a different type of 2 than the previous Houston team. They're like, oh, they're going to be competing with OKC. It's like, yo, these dudes haven't even sat in the locker room together yet. Let's calm down. They made a lot of moves. I just think a lot of the guys are just I still don't think it meshes as well as people make it seem. Like people are putting it together like it's a 2K, the starting 5, and this is the 5 guys that are come off the bench, and these guys are going to play at this level all the time. And it's like it just doesn't work that way. And I feel like people have kind of jumped the gun on those moves. Like I said, they didn't have to give up much to get KD, but just factually, he's 60 games. 60 to 64 games is what you best case scenario.
Yeah, best case scenario.
So okay, so best case scenario 82. Worst case scenario 40. Most likely scenario about 58 to 64 games. That's what you're going to get. He's going to miss some time, ankle, a knee here, strain here. You understand the injury he had with the Achilles is probably the cautionary tale for every calf strain in the NBA now going forward. Because I even said it before Game 7 or Game 6 with Halliburton. Like, listen, if they don't feel it's a KD situation where KD was out for a couple of months, then play him, and then he tears his Achilles in Game 7. So I think with that history, understand like, hey, I played through an injury, and it cost me a championship and a full next season with the team I really wanted to go to. I think it's going to be a lot of times where it's like, hey, that tightness and whatever muscle group is going to have them out for a couple of days while they really analyze it. So, 62 games. I like the Dorian Finney-Smith pickup because guys leaving LA play better when they go to their next team. I don't know if it's because they were kind of stymied after they were playing in LA or playing under the big lights.
I wonder why that could be.
It's tough to play with LeBron. I'm not even going to front. Like, I'm a big LeBron fan, but I know it's from what you can tell, like certain players, it doesn't work. Like you talk about Bruce Brown. He probably couldn't get it off in a place like Philly or Milwaukee or Dallas or something like that. But like with Jokic, he just knows that Jokic's going to look over that left shoulder when the defense comes from here. I'm going to cut to the hoop. He's going to throw me this crazy pass over his head, and I'm going to get a layup. So, like I said, when guys leave LeBron, I don't know if maybe they do learn something or just playing in that big city under the pressure on the TV all the time, they kind of get at ease. So when they go to the next team, it's like, oh, I've dealt with this pressure before. This is nothing compared to what I just left. And they just play better. Just like when you get your second wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're still the same dude, but you know, so you learn some stuff. Yeah, even your third. Like, you've learned, like, hey, all right, this isn't really worth the argument. Okay, this extra pass is necessary here, or me cutting here because the superstar is getting this kind of attention. Whatever the case may be, I think guys just play better. So I like the moves. I don't want to just jump out the window. I'm going to call them a contender just because I think a lot of their moves are additions more than subtraction like some other teams. We agree?
I want to get there, but I can't get there. So look, I don't see what the Rockets did that I'm supposed to be excited about. You know what I mean? Kevin Durant's a name. You know, so Kevin Durant is a player that I recognize that has won an MVP, you know, has won 2 NBA Finals MVPs, but that was many, many moons ago.
Yeah, but he still commands a block of your opponent's practice will be dedicated to how we rotate to and off of KD. So that in and of itself is enough. That's enough.
And that's
even
the
though
problem.
It's only for 62 games.
That's the problem. Because he's fixing to be what? 38? 37, 38 years old now. So you're asking him to, for lack of better words, I don't want to do hyperbolic, but for lack of better words, you're asking him to carry your offense.
I don't think it's carrying offense. I think it's like, I'm saying defensively, you're going to have to account for him.
No, I know.
You're going to have to focus on him.
I'm just saying, I'm talking about Houston.
But I'm saying their opponents are going to have to be like, yo, KD, we got to watch KD. KD's like, all right, cool.
For the Rockets to be a true contender, Kevin Durant has to tap in to the Kevin Durant. That shoe was too big.
Oh, I was thinking toe on the line. The toe on the line, KD.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the Kevin Durant that they need. And I don't know if that Kevin Durant is there anymore. Now, with that being said, this is the problem, though. So with Jalen Green, right? He got shit on. He's the young guy, you know, didn't play well during the playoffs, right? But there's a whole lot of Rockets on that team that didn't play well during the playoffs. You know, that didn't score the ball. So, yeah, KD could come out here, get you 26 or 27. Maybe on a good night, Van Vliet will get you 21. Is Amen Thompson got a jumper yet? You know, so that's my guy, but does he got a jumper yet? Jabari Smith.
Does he get 6 points off of deflections and runouts?
Jabari Smith. But that's the problem. That's the problem that they ran into against Golden State. He couldn't do a lot outside of that. You know what I'm saying? There was
Yeah.
one game where they went to halftime, and that's what Charles Barkley said. Like, how did the Rockets get back in this game? He said, they got to stop shooting the ball, Ernie. They just got to go get a fast break, because that's their offense. So, like, Kevin Durant helps that out, obviously. And theoretically, the other guys are going to get better shots off of Kevin Durant, right? I don't know if Kevin Durant has the energy for the output that's going to be necessary for that to happen. You know what I mean? Then on top of that, you know what I'm saying? So they lost Dylan Brooks, who is a big loss. Like, DFS is probably a better shooter, but I don't know if he's a better defender. But now you got to find minutes for Tari Eason as well. You know what I'm saying? You got to find minutes for Jabari Smith as well, who is basically a low budget, great value Walmart almond milk version of Kevin Durant. So you can't necessarily play them together, even though you would have two theoretical unicorns playing side by side. Can't play them together because your defense would suck.
Maybe you try it. Maybe just like sometimes it's just a presence. Like Kevin Durant, when he played with Golden State, he was allowed essentially to expend more energy defensively because they had Stephen Clay offensively. So every once in a while, he would be that rotate defender and was, a deterrent at the rim.
Kevin Durant ain't going to be nothing but LeBron from the standpoint of he's going to put up his 26, 27 points. We're going to say, look at what he's doing for his age. And then we're going to see a lot of videotape of the Rockets playing defense and Kevin Durant all the way over on the baseline.
Well, as long as you're pointing, see, LeBron was at least putting the young guys in position. Like, all right, go stand over there. I'm not running over there, but go stand over there. The play is this: they're running floppy on the left side. Like, just run over there. They'll throw you the ball, and he'll just run back up court.
And that's the thing. If you're expecting I shouldn't say expecting. If you're wanting anything from Reed Shepherd more than I would say 10 points a game, you're doing it wrong because he got to play defense when he on the floor too. So that's the thing.
That's what the second unit is for. Like,
but that's the thing. But that was what I was talking about last week, right? Like, we banging on Jalen Green. It's not like Ime was out here with this creative offense and Jalen Green was just like he was just basically
basically pick and roll, get to the cup.
Like he was basically on the playground, like, hey, like just make it up as you go. Like it looked like Brett Favre right before he threw an interception to lose the NFC Championship game.
When Steve Adams was out there calling to the top of the key, set the screen, he's not rolling to the hoop to get the pass. Just set a hard screen and take his defender if they switch and then just take him to the rim or kick it out to Şengün. It was a couple of games Şengün, like Golden State series is like, dog, you're at the free throw line.
Yeah.
There's no one around you. He was shooting I was like, just shoot the ball. You wide open.
Yeah. And then I got one more team real quick. This ain't going to be very long. It's just for shits and giggles. San Antonio Spurs. Contender or pretender?
Oh, God. I want to say contender, but I've been seeing a lot. Like I said, I've been seeing a lot of these posts about like this Texas trio, this Texas storm between Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. But I was like, let's be honest. It's a lot of young guys. So first rookies, second year guys between all three of those teams. And a bunch of injury-prone guys, and a bunch of guys coming off of injury. So it's seems like a lot until I see them work the offense through Wemby. I'm calling them a pretender, just because I have no understanding of why. I get that it takes time for a player who's a blue chip, number one overall pick, universal unicorn, all these accolades that they bestow upon someone when they first join the league, when they are this dynamic of a player. But until they start working the offense through him and utilizing his skill sets, I have no idea. They keep bringing in other people that are going to take shots away from him. They keep bringing in people who don't get them. They don't have traditional point guards that get them the ball. They have Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox. So it's like, what are we doing there? Because someone's got to get Wemby the ball. The 7'5" guy on a basketball court should be getting the ball a lot. I know he only weighs he probably weighs like 215, 220 pounds. Realistically, I know it's stretched out, but I
Let's
can't
see.
imagine that they might
He is listed at 235.
cut it out of here. With weights in his pocket, he's 235. With a book bag on, with a 25-pound vest, he's probably 235. So right now, let's call him 7'5", 205. But they don't get the ball. Like the ball should go through him. Even if it's like a Tim Duncan like type impact where it's like, okay, 19 and 11, can you get a stack? Because I think because the way he plays defensively and he shoots the three, he could probably get you like 20 and 13 very easily. But just work it through him. That way, De'Aaron Fox isn't dribbling the air out of the ball, trying to use all of his speed to get to the cup. But until they actually work the ball through this valued asset that they have, I gotta call them contenders. I mean pretenders. That's all I'm saying. Like I don't until they do that, then that's what I gotta label them.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna go pretender as well. You probably already know where I'm gonna go with this, but we gonna go there anyway. What league are we talking about right now?
The NBA.
What is one of our main complaints about the NBA?
They don't promote small market teams.
On the court, like something that happens on the court.
Yeah.
They shoot way too many threes.
Way too many. Okay.
All right. So with that being said, let me take it from the top. De'Aaron Fox, 27%. Wemby, 35%. Vassell, 36%. Harrison Barnes, somehow 43%. Stephon Castle, 28%. Sohan, 30%. Keldon Johnson, 31%. Champagne is at 37. Way to go. So you shoot way too bad to be a contender right now. That all has to improve. Like out of those names that I just said, at least 3 of them need to up their 3-point percentage by 3 to 4% for me to consider this team a contender. And that was why I didn't like the Dylan Harper pickup, because I was thinking to myself, back to your Bradley Beal stuff earlier, who's coming off the bench? De'Aaron Fox ain't coming off the bench.
Not at all.
Stephon Castle just won Rookie of the Year. But
He's
then you got a dude that you just drafted number 2. You just drafted
that looks just like him.
You know what I mean? That looks just like him.
Hairstyles the same way.
So now, can I play 3 guards? Probably not. I can't go 3-guard lineup because I got Devin Vassell, who's a 36% 3-point shooter, who shoots the ball way too much for my liking anyway, but that's a whole nother story. Then you still got to get Harrison Barnes, Sohan.
You haven't mentioned Wemby yet.
Yeah, and then you still got to get Keldon Johnson minutes. Then, by the way, Wemby probably needs about 25 shots a game, saying? And the problem, the other problem is that
how do you get him 25 shots? What do you got? What is the stat like per 100 possessions is basically like a game?
Do you know how many threes Wemby takes a game?
7.
8.8.
9 threes.
9 threes a game this man takes at 7'5". And saying, I hope you're right, Mike. He needs to, but he's one of the few people that can hit a 3 on this team. So if you're going to trade him, you better get some shooters back, or else we're going to be looking at the cute version of the Zebo Memphis Grizzlies.
Or you just get some rebounders to get all the threes that they miss.
I guess so.
I mean, there's 2 ways to skin. I mean, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. But like I said,
so.
if you can't get the ball to the 7'5" guy, then I don't know. I don't know what your plan is if you can't make that happen.
The Spurs' worst comparison that I could think of is there an even worse version of the Cavs not getting the ball to Evan Mobley?
I saw Donovan Mitchell talk about that. He said Mobley has to cuss us out basically when we're not getting him the ball.
No, motherfucker. How about you pass the ball?
Yeah, he likes to
shoot. You 6'2", pass the fucking ball.
He's a rock though. I mean, he's a little muscle guy. Wemby just like I've seen Wemby like I said,
little person version of Carmelo talking about cuss me out.
He cut through the lane. Like when he cuts through the lane, I think his arms are probably what?
You know what,
10 feet in
Donovan
the
Mitchell and
air.
Evan Mobley? You ain't even got to go through all that. I'll cuss them out for you. Donovan, take your little short ass and pass the fucking ball and stop taking 35 shots a game when your team needs you to take probably about 13 less of
Listen,
those shots.
that man went for 70 last like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Yeah, how many conference finals he done played in?
probably not many.
0. How
It
about
ain't
that?
for everybody. Listen, some people out here just to entertain us, and some people out here are built for the long run.
All right, so then finally tonight, is time running out on LeBron James? So yeah, you could say he's in year 23. He's an old fart now, but no. It's his time running out in Tinseltown.
I've been, like I said, we don't normally do LeBron centric topics because like, a lot of the times, a lot of the conversation on TV is like, what does he need to win a
Yeah,
championship?
usually I get physically ill when we do.
So I think we talked about it in our pre-meeting or our text, set up for the show. I think now this is like a real crossroads for LeBron because I don't think his legacy is at stake. I think people are trying to make this because it's not my job to determine what his legacy is. But the new ownership in LA, maybe they're bringing in new people. They spent $10 billion to purchase a team. However that works out, wherever all this money is coming from to make this team happen, I imagine that spending that much money on that franchise, you will make some internal changes where there's not a lot of an allegiance to the players in the building and they will be treated like commodities. The problem is if I am, I know LeBron has a no trade clause, but I'm pretty sure conversations can happen. People have been traded with no trade clauses before. If you are LA, I don't know how much leverage you have to get back value for LeBron, considering he has a no trade clause. Because if you look at the player, you look at the impact he's going to have. If I want to make a trade, say, to the Knicks, the money goes Knicks send Karl Anthony Towns, the Knicks receive LeBron James. That's the money.
And like I said earlier,
It's a one for one.
I don't think he wanted to play for Mike Brown before. I don't know if he wants to play for Mike
I
Brown
don't know if
now.
you want to do it again. And on top of that, it's like if I'm LA, I think I have, more to gain from trading LeBron than just getting one player straight up. You're not going to get the Desmond Bain deal just because the future for that team that gets LeBron, they don't have 3 or 4 more years with LeBron playing at the level as, a 2028, 29, and 30 first round pick would have. So it's like you're not like no team is going to give that up because it's just not good. It's not good clock management. We see the calendar, we know what's going on. I heard another trade, LeBron to Golden State straight up for Jimmy Butler. That I don't like that as far as like the whole battles he had with the Cavs and the Golden State Warriors. But as far as timeline goes, I think it makes sense for Golden State because Draymond, Steph, and LeBron, they only have a few more sunsets left in this league. So I think
Right.
that makes sense as far as like a basketball move. I just personally I don't think that makes sense. I don't want to see that particular move. So I think it's a real crossroads. But you have Luca there. So if you're LeBron, it's like I got Luca here. The problem is I don't know what wiggle room they have if they re-sign Austin Reeves to a 25-point game, like day in and day out score type of contract. That's going to be a lot of money. And I don't know if they have that much money to give to a two guard that
Well,
can't run a second unit without LeBron or Luca.
depending on what you choose to believe, there are rumors out there that LeBron and Reeves don't like playing with Luka. That's just rumor, though. We'll see. Whatever. I do agree with Mike that to some degree they are the same player. I don't think they're exactly the same player, but they do a lot of the same things. They operate in a lot of the same ways.
Offensively, they are
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
own atmosphere. Like
Right.
you once your spaceship gets in
Like,
their
yeah.
orbit, you're now in their
Like, I'm
rotation. It's like,
Neptune, I'm not Pluto. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so couple things, right? I was thinking about this topic and I was trying to figure it out. And this is the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree, Mike. I don't think Austin Reeves is coming back either. Like after, but I was trying to think of where is a realistic spot that he could go because I was like, I could come up with teams. I could make up teams and say, oh yeah, I would love to see LeBron here. Or I would love to see, but where could he actually go?
At
And
52 million, like that's your number. So that's
so what I was
only the
looking at,
13th highest paid player. So like that part's not crazy. He's 12 more people get more money than him this
so
coming
I'm
season.
gonna eliminate the Knicks just because of the Mike Brown thing. Maybe you could have the Warriors because Draymond spends a lot of his off time on LeBron's nuts. So maybe like you could add him to Golden State. Cleveland obviously is home. You know what I mean? But if I'm Cleveland, I don't think I have anything that I want to give up for a year or 2 years, even though this would be the year to do it with the East in the condition that we've been talking about. But I don't know if I want to do that. I said what I said, Residente, on his nuts. You know what I'm saying? You got Dallas, you know what I'm saying, who Mike brought up, just because there's no real basketball reason for Dallas to do it either. Outside of, well, hey, they got Kyrie, they got Anthony Davis. So, you know what I mean? Like, you
Well,
got the
let's keep it
connections.
a buck. I know they rekindled that relationship, but Kyrie literally left Cleveland because he wanted to be his own man, and
I know,
AD
but
just
you
got
see
traded
Kyrie at the
away.
Lakers playoff games?
Yes, I see that. Because I think his maturity has got him to the point where he's like, all right, I understand. Like having that mindset then was probably a poor way of going about
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
But
that was 8
I
years
still
ago.
think he believes it. Like
Okay.
I don't
And I
think the
don't blame him
belief
for
that
not I
wanting to
don't blame
play
him for
somewhere
not
else.
believing it. I don't
Yeah,
blame him for not
T
believing
Mac
it.
had the same
Um,
ideology when he was playing with Vincent Carter. He was like, and they
so
were cousins. So he
so
was like, I
salary
still want to be my own man.
so the salary cap eliminates half the teams. The markets that they play in eliminate another half of the teams.
Yeah,
So you're stuck with they're not trading him to the Clippers.
correct.
He's not going back to Pat Riley.
Not at all.
I would have maybe said Brooklyn a couple of months ago, but after this draft and all that shit that they did, like, nah. So I'm stuck with a team that I don't really want to say out loud right now. But I'm going to say it because, I mean, we talking. So Residente, you know what I'm saying? Get your tapes ready. Why not the Sixers?
For Paul George?
For Paul George and something else? Because this is the way that I think of it, right? You know what I'm saying? Because realistically,
You got
Philadelphia is a
this LA want Paul George.
I
Do
don't
the
know.
Lakers.
I
That's the
don't
thing.
know, but the thing is, because I think so. So this is the thing. I don't think LeBron's going anywhere, but I do think he wants out. I do think that
Run to the Bulls.
the Lakers want him out. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? But they
Unless
just
they
can't.
truly believe that Luca has the star power to keep the prices of the courtside seats what they are and to get them as many televised games they are. The thing was people say Luca and LeBron play a lot alike. LeBron has like let's keep it real. Like he hasn't been running around the defensive end the last few years because it's like I have to have energy for both ends and I play a certain type of way offensively to where it's going to deplete my energy tank. And then the way the team is built, he had to spend a lot of time on the floor, a lot like Jokic. So defensively, sometimes he would play a lot of offense on one end, and then kind of just direct defensively, a lot like what Draymond Green does, like just kind of get people in places. And then sometimes you're like, I'm gonna take on this challenge because Luka and Austin Reeves, they're on one today. But Luka and Austin Reeves go 2 for 11 in the first quarter, and LeBron's like, now in the second quarter, after he gets his rest at the end of the first, now I gotta go ham for 5 or 6 minutes. You can't do it on both ends. Most players can't do it on both, especially the guys who play it that way.
I think the
I don't
thing
think
is,
Luka can make up for what LeBron gives you defensively, just as a mind. So I don't think LA will be wise to just want to get rid of him.
but that's the problem. Because all I've heard, and I don't want to turn this into a LeBron bash fest, but I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. But for the last 5 years or so, all I've heard is LeBron has been trying to hand the team to Anthony Davis. Right? He wanted Anthony Davis to be the lead. He wanted Anthony Davis to be the go-to guy, do the things that LeBron used to do when he was younger, right? So now you bring Luka in, let Luka cook, and you go play defense now. Or you do the dirty work.
I think
and don't complain about it. Just fucking do it.
He was doing
the
that, but they had a very
in the corner, you go stand in the
late
corner.
trade. It was a late trade.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think the rumors of him not wanting to play with Luka. I'm talking about LA thinking that moving on from LeBron and just running with Luka is going to have the same impact. I don't think LeBron would want to leave. First of all, I think LA age.
I think LeBron knows they can't win the title. I think LeBron knows they can't win the title.
Proximity to just favorable business deals. We talked about Magic. Magic's career went crazy business wise. That's why he stayed in LA. All these partnerships and everything he has, and now obviously with the Washington Commanders as well. But the business aspect of what he's doing, trying to own a team, probably trying to start a studio, probably trying to expand the agency to have, athletes and actors and producers and directors, having your life centered in LA is that's what you need to make that happen, because you can't do the same things in New York. I know New York is a very big business oriented place, but the kind of stuff we see LeBron talking about, the different podcasts, the way he's kind of using his platform, it's perfect for the city of Los Angeles. So I don't think he wants to leave. It might just be one of those things where he has to come to terms with the fact that it's like, I'm going to have to play all my energy out, and I might not compete for a championship. I don't know if I think in the series against Minnesota, in that it was a game 5 because they lost in 5. Second half, game 5, he had like a smirk on his face. I think it was like that realization, like, you know what? I might just be playing basketball for the love of the game in this location.
Or for that $53 million.
But like I said, this could be maybe, like I said, after the All-Star break, he's like, you know what? The rumor is LeBron's going to retire at the end of this year, and he does a swan song, and then he rides off to the sunset. And then Bryce gets drafted into the draft next year, and then he goes and buys a team and puts him in Las Vegas. At some point, it's all going to have to wrap up.
Well, I think Terez's
his great career is going to have to come to an end at some point, and it won't be like a Jerome Bettis, John Elway with the young gun leading you to a championship, and you can ride off from the shoulders of your team. I don't think the Lakers are built like that.
Well, I think Terez's point, that's why I like a KD and Luka, would do a lot of damage from the standpoint of KD could just get to his spots, and he's not gonna doing what he doesn't take away from what Luka does. He just
KD get his 28 points off 12 shots.
You know what I'm saying? But LeBron is that computer the way that Luka is that computer, and I think that's the problem, because remember when Dallas first got Kyrie, all the talk was, how are they going to play together? Are they just going to take turns? You shoot, I shoot, or whatever the case may be. And they were able to make that work, you know what I'm saying? But LeBron has been the Peyton Manning, as I like to say, where he is the system. He is the offense. He is the defense. Whatever he wants to do is what we're going to build our team around. And yeah, exactly, Rez. And that's where I
He
think
didn't take his heart. I think it just was like, man, this ain't gonna work.
no. I think that
Like
LeBron,
When Jay Cutler was like, all right, this knee hurts and this Bears team's not going anywhere.
as Reverend Jeremiah Wright would say, the end of LeBron's career is his chickens coming home to roost. Because the Lakers had your Max Christie's and your Scottie Pippen Juniors and people like that over the years that they could have developed. And guess what? That money that and I don't want to bash the kid, but the money that they spent on paper towel, LeBron James Jr., they could have probably had somebody like a JaVale McGee in there last year.
Nah, the Lakers had bad big contracts, and then they
Oh
gave
yeah,
too many
Palinka's a
guys.
clusterfuck. Palinka's
Yeah,
fucked everything up.
the problem with the Lakers roster, it wasn't the amount of money that like Bronny got.
No,
It
I'm not
was
talking about I'm not saying it was bad to
yeah,
give him that amount of money. I'm just saying they could have used that money, regardless of how much it was,
they
on a player
probably
that
still
actually they needed.
the problem that they had was that they gave guys who were getting 1.2 to 1.6 million dollars player options. So you had guys that pretty much no other team would take up, opting in for their next year 1.8 million and taking up a roster spot, and you
I
couldn't
don't.
move them because they signed. So like they were just taking, because I'm pretty sure all of them are willing to go over the cap. They have plenty of money. They
So
have plenty of money to go over the cap. So
Mike,
that,
I think you're
I don't think that was hurting them at all.
I think you're kind of right. I wouldn't say he took his heart. I would just say that one day I was able to dunk. I was able to run 5 miles. And then one day I woke up and my back was hurting. One day I woke up and my ankle was sore. One day I woke up and my shoulder was hurting. I had tennis elbow. I think that LeBron, more or less, in that series was just like, yo, I don't have this gas anymore. I think that's what happened. Don't forget JJ Redick in game 4 played all the starters the whole second half, to include a 39, 40-year-old LeBron. So I don't
Yeah,
think it was a heart thing. I think LeBron just ran out of gas.
again, I think that was a Hail Mary to not go down 3-1.
Right.
And like I said, I do not like the NBA replay system. I don't know if they considered revamping it,
They haven't.
but we called the ball out of bounds and now it's reversed to a foul. I don't like that. Whatever the call is, just make that call, because that was huge. And I get it that, like, hey, he did foul him, but you didn't call that. So it's a foul every single play. Every single play, another guy's hitting another guy and bumping into him. And you could, if you slowed it down, you could see that, oh, yeah, he got him with the body. I don't like them being able to change that. But once again, when they played that strategy, it didn't work. And ultimately, we talk about this all the time. You walk into the locker room. James Harden came out and said it in the press conference after like 4 games. He was wearing a fat suit, so it came off as like just very arrogant. But if you have guys that are willing to compete and able to compete with the other teams that are out there. He just said it because he was trying to force his way out. But
See, LeBron, people don't understand. Like, LeBron's had a lot of malpractice in his career too, because we can point to all the dudes that he played with, but then we gotta look at all the dudes he had coaching him. And who was coaching him last year? A dude in his first year as a head coach. Before we knew what Eric Spoelstra was, he was just the dude in the video room. Mike Brown was a henchman for Popovich, but we didn't have any idea. So like that's a part of it too. Minnesota also has a really good coach, and but think about what you're saying though, Mike. You talking about you being 37 playing against 12th graders. We're talking about LeBron playing against the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, the probably best conditioned athletes outside of
what?
guys.
Anthony Edwards is what, 23?
Yeah, my
24
son's
maybe.
23.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like
I
and
literally have a kid his
it's the
age.
same
Like,
thing.
there's
I
no
can go
competing
out
with
there
them.
and bust my son ass right now. You know what I mean? I can go bust my son ass right now. You know, a quick game or whatever the case may be. But in
You won't
between
play
those
again until
games,
next Sunday.
well, in between those games, if I stop,
It's
like
a
if we
wrap.
don't just constantly play, if I stop, that's just done. I could play for 3 hours. But if we take any kind of break that involves me sitting down, it
Oh
ain't
yeah,
happening.
shoes coming off. I've been
It
in the
ain't
gym
happening.
plenty of times. My son will play. Shoes will come off. Like, you good? Like, I'm good. Y'all keep playing.
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
not
So
getting
so
back
like
up.
so I think that and I think that goes back to the point of it's no, I agree he does need to retire, but I mean, but I ain't my place to tell somebody that. But I agree. But I think that if I'm still capable of here you go. If I'm capable of scoring 25 to 30 points in an NBA game, why not play? You know what I mean? It's also, Dorian Finney-Smith had to hit shots. Gabe Vincent's got to hit shots. He's got to act like he's in Miami again. Luca got to give some kind of effort if the ball ain't in his hand. Austin Reeves needs to show up in the playoffs. Jackson Hayes needs to act like he's 6'10". Like there's a
Yeah,
lot of other things going on in LA besides LeBron James.
yeah.
But I do
They
think
just think he is the biggest shark in the pond, and that's the problem. Like, everyone's noticing what's going on,
right.
but ultimately he picked L.A. Whatever him and Magic talked about, and that was the purpose. But now you're there, you got to make it work because you're too far gone to make another move. His I'm pretty sure the stability of his life and what he wants to do with his future, I can't see him just moving or like staying in a penthouse in Philly for their home games and then flying back to LA and then flying down to Arizona. Like, his one
Do you
son
gotta
went to
trade Bronny with
USC.
him? If you were to trade him, do you gotta trade Bronny too?
I imagine that if you're gonna make that deal, probably maybe it's a package deal.
You know,
I mean, because I can't, like I said, I can't see a situation where if LeBron isn't in LA, Bronny doesn't go with them. But like, he has a son that's about to start college basketball in Arizona. That's literally that is a 4 hour drive from LA in a Sprinter van if he wanted to drive, or give or take 48 minute flight, fifty
boom.
minute flight.
See, we just solved it. LeBron for Jalen Green. Let's get it.
I mean, LeBron for Brad Beal, the money match. But they gotta throw something else in because he got the extra money.
Nah, but last thing for me, for real though.
That's not messing
Let,
the
let,
league up. One dude
let,
with
let,
one son is not messing the league
let,
up.
let-
Every single coach hired their son as an assistant. Nick Kerr got a job. Adelman's son got a job. I'm pretty sure Pat Riley's relatives
Danny
work
Ainge just
in
hired
the.
his son as the
Danny
team
Ainge has
president.
hired his son. All these dudes get their kids involved in the family business. One guy's family business happened to be wearing these basketball shoes and shooting jump shots. But I'm pretty sure Brad Stevens has a cousin that's a lawyer that works in the Celtics organization.
Nah,
Like,
last thing for
it's
me.
what you do.
Last thing for me before we get out of here is I do think it's pretty ironic that out of all the players in the league that the Lakers are in trade rumors for, it just happens to be fucking Wiggins.
That would be ironic.
Out of all the dudes in the league that you could have trade rumors for, Andrew Wiggins. Ain't that something? But y'all, on that note,
Come on, come on.
we gonna get
She
up
wants to
out
be
of
part of
here.
that outro. Come on.
No, I don't even know any math that you guys know. No.
Okay. All right.
You know that we will
No,
be
I
back
do.
in a few days. Keep up the good work out there. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your summer league. Don't forget Cooper Flag against LeBron James Jr. Apparently, I'm being joined as well. This is the family edition of Sports Reports is Ordered. We love you. You know what I'm saying? We'll see you then. Oh, yeah. Dalton Connect too. Yeah. Before tonight, 5 for 20 in summer league, 0 for 9 from 3. I didn't watch the game tonight, so I ain't got his stats, but get
His
that man out
confidence-
of there. Maybe
his
that's
confidence is shot.
You don't need to show them any of that. You know,
Yes, I do.
we love y'all.
Can you show them like it tastes like beer?
It's a family show.
It tastes like beer.
Like, review, subscribe, share, rate. I don't know what Mr. Logical is giving her, but do all the free things. Do all the good things. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Drink your liquid deaths, y'all. Peace.